Hi everyone, Sam here. I wanted to chat about something that has been on my mind quite a bit for probably months now, and it is about 1099 freelancing and contract work. So I subscribe to a few job sites like Idealist, LinkedIn, Indeed, and sites like that. And I've been noticing an overwhelming number of postings that are for 1099 contractor roles. And due to the current environment and it being really difficult and competitive for these roles, I feel like a lot of folks are turning to contract work in order to obviously have some money coming in, even if it's not, a secure, longer term, part-time or full-time job. Now, I'm coming from a background having worked a full-time W-2 job for a few years, part-time W-2 for a few years, as a statutory employee, which is the combination of a W-2 employee having the ability to deduct certain business expenses. And I've also worked as a 100% 1099 contractor for a few years now. So there are a few things that I wanted to point out because I think that a lot of people are, potentially getting themselves into situations that they don't fully understand. And this is from the employee or gig worker or contractor standpoint, as well as a lot of small businesses and nonprofits is where I'm seeing a lot of this. And I'm not saying that it's necessarily a bad thing. However, there are just certain things to look into or be aware of as you're making the decisions to take on a contractor role, and also understanding, the things that are okay and not okay as a contract worker. So, for example, there are a lot of listings that I honestly see that feel very much to be W-2 jobs that are marketed as 1099 contractor roles. Now, I understand that a lot of people look into hiring contract labor for a number of reasons. One of them being that it costs way less. However, through hiring contract workers, you're also giving up certain rights to dictate or control the work that is being done. So, as a contract worker or somebody considering 1099 work, some of the things to be really aware of is the level of control that is being placed on you from the employer or the client. In these situations, as a contract worker, you are not really supposed to think of yourself as an employee. It's technically like self-employed income. So as a self-employed individual, you're a contractor. You are meant to be hired for your expertise, the knowledge that you bring, and the ability to perform the work on your own terms. Now, depending on the contract, there are obviously different things that are going to be in the contract that might say, you're going to attend weekly meetings at this date and time, or you're going to meet with so-and-so and you're going to work with blah, blah, blah. However, it's not technically, in most cases, okay for an employer or, again, a client, because they are not your employer, they are the client paying you a fee for your services, should not be dictating, like, you need to work Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and you should be performing the labor exactly at this time. Like, there's supposed to be some level of autonomy that you have as a contract worker. And again, this is all going to be, determined within the contracts as well. So these are just general guidelines of what's generally appropriate or not. This is also going to vary on the federal level versus in your particular state. So these are things to be aware of as the person who is providing the labor or the service work, as well as the employers and where you are, or the clients, and where you're based versus where you are contracting this labor from. So there's kind of a lot of laws involved. The other things to take note of in terms of equipment. So you as a contractor are typically supposed to provide your own equipment, materials, and in the remote worker landscape, this might be certain software and programs. Obviously, for certain projects, you might be working on the company's software and you may have to go into their software. But generally speaking, you are meant to have your own, say, Canva account. They shouldn't be providing you with a laptop that a W-2 employer might provide you with. You're not entitled to certain benefits such as unemployment unless you personally and individually pay into unemployment. You are not guaranteed benefits. You're not guaranteed wage and hour support, disability, unless again you have your own private insurance and things of that nature. You don't have certain protections, but you're also not bound to certain hours, again, unless it's within your contract. So you also have to be really careful, and I bring this up again because this was something that I didn't really think about when I was transitioning over to taking on clients from different states. There are things that are called nexus rules, and this is something I believe economic nexus is probably the most relevant for service workers. So it's going to be different if you're talking about sales taxes. But for service workers, you also want to make sure you know how much money you're receiving from the different states and what those particular rules are in terms of filing. So we just had tax season, and if you are above those nexus amounts, then you may be obligated to file taxes in other states as a non-resident. So if you are taking in income from states that do not have income taxes, for example, then you don't have to worry about that. But a lot of states do require that you file and pay taxes if you are earning income from that state and you do not live there. So you've got to there's so many things to pay attention to and to look into other than just what are the rates that they're willing to pay, what are the roles, am I a good fit, and make sure that you're not getting yourself into any, trouble just because there's a lack of awareness. And on top of that, it's also very confusing. And everybody has their own rules, and so it can be really daunting to follow, especially when you're under-resourced and cannot, afford someone like a CPA who can help you monitor these things and make sure that you're doing things properly. So just wanted to get out here and kind of put this message out of, be careful as somebody who's looking into 1099 contractor work, and make sure that you try to be as informed as possible as you're making the decision to take on 1099 roles. So hope this was helpful, and I'll talk to you all soon. Bye.